Alright, so in the last video we saw or we completed the exploratory data analysis part, which was very long, and now we will move ahead towards model building. Yeah, so as I in the last video, as I said that the price variable or the price column had a little bit of skewness in its distribution. It was left Gaussian skewed distribution or left skewed Gaussian distribution. We wanted to convert this left skewed to centrally skewed distribution. So we applied, or we tried to see whether log transformation can work or not, and we saw that log transformation actually changed the distribution from left skewed to centrally skewed distribution. So what we will be doing is, there is a simple kind of trade-off between logarithm and exponential. So what we will be doing is, we will be converting the price column into log of price. So that means let's say that our price is, let's say for example, df of, if we just type in df of price, let's make it as a list so that it becomes easy for us to understand the code, right? List of this, yeah. So we see that we get this kind of price. Okay, now if I do np.log of this price, what would I get? Just see, np.log of this value basically. Okay, copy, paste, and let's see what we get. Yep, we get almost like 11.175. that is almost like 11.175, 11.17 it also you can consider, because this is trailing here. So what the idea is, now if I do np.exp of this value, okay, np.exp of what? Of this value, right? Let's see whether we are getting 71,000 or not back. Yeah, we are getting the same result. So did you observe one pattern? Normally the distribution was left skewed, and left skewed is not that preferable. We want centrally skewed data. So for skewing it centrally, we applied a logarithmic transformation, and we saw a little bit of change here. We saw that this transformation, this data from here, it got transformed to here, and this is very good. Actually we want this kind of thing only, because we would get good results. So what we did is, we took an example. I took some 5 samples, and then I took this logarithm of this example. For example, I took logarithm of this value. I got 11.175. now this 11.175 is lying here. You can see 11.75 would be somewhere around here. So 11.75 is 175 is sampled from a Gaussian distribution, or we can say uniformly Gaussian distribution. It is perfect bell curve. Over here, if I try to see where 11.75 is, it is somewhere around here, 11.75. And we can see if I want to sample also, I cannot sample. Or maybe in another analogy, you can think that 71,378 is somewhere around this, is somewhere around here. But this may get me into issues. So I want, on safer side, I want a centrally skewed distribution. So I converted this into log, and I picked up 11.175 from the central domain, so that the probability of me getting prediction is higher. Okay, so the whole aim is, whenever you check the distribution of any feature, always try to see whether the feature is following Gaussian distribution or not, Gaussian distribution or Bernoulli distribution or any other kind of statistical distribution or not. If a particular column is following XYZ distribution in a skewed manner, then try to apply some transformations like exponential transformation, logarithmic transformation, Box-Cox transformation. All this kind of various kind of transformations, if you Google, you will get some kind of code over there. Just simply copy and paste the code, and then do the transformation, and then check the result as we saw over here. right? So if we try to convert our convert our features into Gaussian distribution, it will always be helpful, because Gaussian distribution has almost like constant mean and constant standard deviation. Z is equals to x minus mu by sigma. Sigma is standard deviation and mu is mean. It has that Z score value, and whenever you are sampling from a Gaussian distribution, there are high chances that you will always get good result. There's a lot of math behind Gaussian distribution, but they just on a nutshell, just remember that if your all features are following Gaussian distribution, your features are very good, your features are perfectly pre-processed, and they are ready for model building now. Okay, so for a slight change, I just converted them into logs, right? Okay, so that is the reason why I said, and we know that price is our dependent variable, so that is our test set, and the training will be df.drop price, right? So let me execute this. So now I have train and test separated. Now these are few imports which we have to import. sklearn.model import train test split, then min max scalar, standard scalar, pipeline, column transformer, label encoder, one hot encoder, metrics, randomized search CV, linear regression, lasso regression, ridge regression, decision tree regressor, random forest, gradient boosting, XGB, SGR, SVR, K nearest neighbor, and sklearn import tree. We will be using ensemble method here. You will see how ensemble methods always give good results, but we'll see how here they are giving good results. So let's execute them, and train test split, the test size is given to be 0.15% of the total, and random state is 2, and then we see that almost 1100 rows are training and 196 are used for validation. Now there is a class which is named as which we imported, named as column transformer. We widely use while building our models using pipelines. So for this, we have to give index numbers as our columns which are having categorical variables. So for categorical variables, we will try to separate. Column transformers are basically used for categorical variables. So we need the use of the categorical variables here. So in order to kind of iterate easily, I am using a hash map over here with an index. Like for 0 we have company, for 1 we have type name, and so on. So if I shift enter this, so I get it, and now we'll use linear regression model. Let's see what linear regression model is. We will apply one hot encoding on the columns with the indices 0, 1, 3, and 0 is nothing but company. This is a categorical variable. Company like HP, Microsoft, Google, Dell, etc. And 1 is nothing but type name, notebook, pro, game station. All these were type name as we saw. And operating system, Windows operating system, Mac operating system, other, and Linux. And 8 is nothing but CPU name. Okay, and 11 is nothing but GPU brand, Nvidia, AMD, Intel. All these are GPU brands. So for them we will be applying one hot encoder. The remaining we will pass through it as no column is getting affected except the ones which are going into transformation. So step 1 is equals to column transformers is equals to column TNF, one hot encoder, sparse is equals to false, drop is equals to first, and then the column name. So basically what it is saying is, in column transformer, this will basically select from column to column, and sparse is equals to false. In the sense, what do we mean by sparse is something like this. See, I'll show you what sparse means. Sparse is when you're having a lot of zeros in your matrices. Okay, so if I'm having this kind of situation, 1 0 0 0 0 0, this is very small. But what if the count of zeros go till 1000 or so? So that becomes a sparse matrix. You can a better way or a simple example is an identity matrix of dimension 1000 cross 1000. So what happens in an identity what happens there? The diagonals are 1, rest all is 0. So that is the best example of sparse matrix. Okay, that is the best example of sparse matrix. And sparse matrix we kindly use as a data structure when we are having graphs which are not that much connected with all other components, and we have to apply some graph algorithms like BFS and DFS on it. So instead of using adjacency matrices and adjacency list, we use sparse matrix over there, because there are no many connections, there are less connections. So we will ignore all the connections over whichever there is wherever there is a 0, we will ignore it and only will consider the one part. So that's almost like a diagonal part. So that is the meaning of sparse. So we do not want any kind of sparsity in our data, in our transformation. And drop is equals to first. Now this drop is equals to first means what, let's say that you are having okay, let's say that we are having some 3 brands like Windows, and then we are having HP, and then we are having Windows, we are having Mac, and we are having Linux. Okay, so these are the 3 categorical values which the operating system column has. Great. Now let me assign a value for Windows. Whenever there is window, that means it is 1, and this is 0, and this is by automatic 0, right? Whenever there is window, it will be 1, otherwise it will be 0. Whenever there is Mac, this will be 0, this will be 1, and this will be 0. Is it or not? Now just see, whenever there is Linux, this is 0, this is 0, and this is 1. So you observe one thing, here I do not require this Linux column at all. Why? Because if your laptop is Windows, then I don't require Mac or Linux, right? So I can reduce on Linux. When I'm having Mac, I do not require Windows and Linux, so I can reduce on Linux. Okay, when I'm not having either Windows or Mac, that means the operating system is nothing but Linux only, because there are three type of operating systems, and in your selection 2 of them are false. That means the third one is automatically true. So that is the meaning of drop. So this column transformer internally has this logic of dropping few columns but preserving the importance of that column. So that is why this is drop is equals to first. Okay, and then 0 1 3 8 11, drop is equals to first means you can either eliminate Windows also. So this means whenever Windows is 0, that means whenever Windows is 1, that means Mac and Linux will surely be 0. That means only then Windows will be on, right? So the logic is same. The main aim of drop is equals to first is drop a particular column but preserve its importance. That is the main aim. Okay, so as we all saw that these are all the categorical variables 0 1 3 11 0 1 3 8 11. So we'll be sending the index list of it, and then remainder is equals to pass through. That means simply pass through and make some changes. So this is step 1. That means converting. In short, if I say step 1 is nothing but converting the categorical variables into numeric variables. Step 2 is nothing but linear regression. Okay, linear regression model. Step 2 is like an object of this linear regression, and step 1 is nothing but object of this column transformer. Now what is the pipeline? Pipeline is nothing but list of objects. Now what are the objects over here? Step 1 is the object and step 2 is the object. How does a pipeline work? First it will see what is the first step, it will execute it. If there is an error, it will throw an error. If there is no error, it will go to the next step, right? So the same. So in pipeline, it is nothing but what? Set of tuples, or we can say that a list of tuples. We can say list of tuples only. This is right. So this is a tuple. So in order to identify a particular object, we need to mention some kind of label to it. So the label is step 1. So what is step 1? Step 1 is nothing but conversion of categorical features to numerical features. So in a pipeline, whenever you are running your whenever the code is getting run, it will first check. So first we have to convert the categorical variables to numerical variables. So the label of that step is step 1. Then the next label is step 2. That means we have to, now we converted our categorical variables to numerical variables. Now we have to apply an algorithm which is nothing but linear regression to that converted numerical variables or the entire data set. So that thing is labeled with what? Step 2. So this entire thing will return what? This entire thing will return a pipeline, and we store it in a pipe object. Then we fit it. Fit in the sense what? We will pass the data to this pipeline. That is the meaning of fit. And then we will predict. Once we do this, what we get? We get a matrix dot R2 score. Now what does R2 score is? In classification, how we are having accuracy, in the same way in regression problem statement we do not use accuracy, we use R2 score. R2 score gives the idea of variance of how one particular feature or how a set of features are inflating or affecting the overall dependent variable, which in this case is price. So the R2 score 80.7 means 80.7% of your features are giving good result, or we can say that the features whichever you are using, they are giving a result of 80.7%, or they are giving a result of they are giving prediction up to an accuracy of 80.7%. We can say in that way, in simple words. Okay, so in classification we have accuracy score, but in regression we will be having R2 score. We will see the error also, mean absolute error, MAE. So mean absolute error is what? Mean absolute error is 0.21%. Okay, or we can say 21% or 0.21. Now MAE is 0.21. If you want to check how much there is a difference to this, we see that if is there any difference as per the original value or not. Yeah, this is nothing. So yeah. So this is important now. The MAE value is what? 0.21. Okay. Now if you do np.exp in 0.21, what do you get? You get 1.23367. Okay. Now what does this 1.23367 mean? This means that the value over here was what? 71,378 point something. This was the thing, right? So if I try and subtract, if I subtract this with np.exp of mean absolute error, that is 0.21011782, let's take it so how much am I getting? Yeah, you see the variation over here. Okay, 78, this is our original price, and this is the price which is predicted by our machine learning algorithm, which is linear regression. What is the difference? The difference is nothing but 1.23. That's it. That is the difference. So if I include this entire MAE, what will be the difference? There will be no significant difference in this. You can see over here, almost same, right? Almost same over here. So 449. That means from 49 to 68, if you go, it's like 59 and 18. That's it. 18 units, you can say. That means linear regression is giving us an error of almost like 0.2%, not more than that, or 2% we can say. But this is only for first one. We cannot conclude it for everything. Okay, because the R2 score is almost like 81% here. Let's try out other models. Now we'll see ridge regression model. So the same concept, we will be applying the column transformer, that is nothing but one-hot encoding. The same procedure which I said in step 1 is followed. Then in step 2, instead of using linear regression algorithm, we'll be using ridge regression. Now speciality of ridge regression is it is having some hyperparameters, and it is having some tunable parameters which we can tune during using hyperparameter tuning and can get good results. So the same thing, pipe is equals to pipeline of step 1 and step 2, and then we'll see pipe is equals to pipe.fit and this. Okay, so if we predict, we get this kind of result. Over here MAE was 0.21, over here MAE became 0.20. There's no significant difference that much. Let's try lasso regression now. So in lasso regression, if we try lasso regression, only thing we have to change is this step 2. Rest everything is same. Just what we have to do over here, just we have to do Control A, Control C, come here, Control V, and then over here instead of ridge regression, just type in lasso regression, and whatever parameters or you want to give, you can give. That's it. If you execute this, what we get? We get almost like 0.80, 0.2114530 as MAE. So ridge regression, so lasso regression, it gave me 80% accuracy. Ridge regression gave me 81.2% accuracy. This gave me 80% accuracy. So in linear models, we can see that ridge regression is performing good. Now in the next video, we will look out for ensemble models, like tree-based models. We'll look out decision tree, random forest regressors, and many more. And we'll come to a conclusion that tree-based models are performing very good. See you in the next video.